Hey guys, welcome back. Bolt Spider here, and today we're going to be talking about the new Abyss archetype. Now, this archetype is definitely a true archetype that is very, very different from all of our conventional ones, as it seems to be more of an engine than an actual deck for now. We are still missing one of their key components, which is a spell card that we have no clue about, which we might get to see coming in the next few weeks or when the set releases, that can make or break the whole entire archetype. The same thing with Earth's Arctic with their last card. Now, for this, I have 4 different builds. 2 of them are very similar, and the other 2 are completely different from the middle 2. So the first one I'm going to look at is the Kaiju variant, which is the Invoked Kaiju Abyss. They definitely help how kaijus function. They are a complementary engine to what the deck is, as they consist both of light and dark monsters. Now, the kaijus here are just there for now. They're just placeholders for whatever kaijus are needed. And overall, it's definitely interesting. The main core that you want to play for the Abyss deck is any number of Odo Abyss, which is 0 or 1. 0 or 1 of the Immune Sia, 1 to 2 Aaron, 1 to 3 Curse depending on the build, 1 to 3 Zoa, 1 to 2 Nil, sometimes 0 depending on the build, and 3 Null. None of the spells are traps for this build because you are more on a control basis, and you can also attack in things like Crusadia, Kaiju Abyss, but that's going to be for a different time, as we're still waiting on that last card. Overall, this deck does struggle still, but the Abyss cards help fuel your water tower, getting your searches so you can get stuff out on the field, and you can play any kaijus that are mandatory or need, but I just went 2 of each just as a placeholder, as you can have up to 8 kaijus if you want. So after that, we're going to be taking a look at this one. This is the Chaos Abyss deck that I was testing out, and overall, this one is actually a lot of fun. So this build is running the 3 Nibiru because Nibiru is one of the better hand traps, in my opinion, to main deck for this, because it benefits so much of what the deck does. You have your one Ogdo or Ogdo Abyss, the 2 targets, which are your level 8 makers, which is Chaos Imp and Chaos Dragon. Then I'm running double Aaron, and I'm not running any of the Queen, because Queen isn't that good, and Aaron is so good, being able to rip a card out of your opponent's hand if your opponent adds a card to their hand, which is very good. Then we have 2 Chaos Creator. This card is so amazing because it puts back so much stuff that you can essentially use later on, like your Chaos Valkyrias, your Knolls, and everything else. After that, we have the Double Curse. You need Double Curse. I swear, Double Curse is what you need, because the reason being, it is a heavy target to get banished by your opponent if they're running any form of banish effect. So Curse is the way to actually play at 2. Then we, of course, have the small danger package of 1 Nessie, 1 Snake, 1 Jackalope, and the 2 Mothman, 2 Chaos Valkyria, a 1 white and 1 black dragon for more of our Chaos engine. And then we have the 2 Zoe. This card is actually good because it searches out your emptiness, which is, actually, no. Does it? No. No, it just cycles itself back, but that doesn't matter. Nil's the one that adds your emptiness, and you only run 1 because you send it to send Curse, and your Null sends itself to send something like a Zoa for your combo. Because then you go Null, summon Curse, summon Zoa, and then you trigger the effects of both. Then you have 3 Snake Rain, because Snake Rain is a very good card. Triple Trade-In, The Viper's Rebirth, because it's an extender if you only have reptiles in your graveyard. 1 Foolish, 1 Monster Reborn, triple Chaos Space, and Emptiness of Abyss. It just tributes a reptile, special summon a monster from your opponent's graveyard, and sends to the graveyard during the end phase. Now, the extract's all up to you. I decided to go with this Divine Arsenal, Dragolubian, Hope Harbinger, Dingrisu, Galaxy S Photon Lord, Double King, because Double King is actually very good, and Abyss Dweller, number 100, because you're Dragolubian, the Crusadia Avermax, Apollosa, Unicorn, Phoenix, M-Frame, and the Masquerena. Now, overall, this is actually a build that I love to have fun with, and it's actually one of the more impactful builds because you can end on a board that has 2 rank 8s and an IP Masquerena. Now, for the next two, as you can see, there is Monarch. This engine, or these two decks, mesh super well because one of 3 things. Pantheism fixes your consistency. Tenacity also fixes your consistency by getting to your Pantheism or your domain. Stormforth helps because if you have any of your level 8s in your hand, you can instantly tribute off one of your opponent's cards. Domain is a complete lockout if you just tribute summon for Ogdo, because all you just do is get out one Stormforth and tribute the other. The Prime Monarch is instant and constant material as long as you can shuffle back your Monarch stuff back to the deck, be it like Edea or other cards. I believe that there's one more that you could do it with. Therese is great as it unbricks hands as well if you summon it off of Aether, and it's also an interrupter, even though it can give your opponent 2 cards, which is completely fine. This is one of the more prominent builds that I am going to be running and playing more because it's actually very fun and the grind game is actually quite good. Trade-in is a general staple because you're running so many level 8s. Terraforming is great because it gets your domain. And Snake Rain is, of course, Snake Rain, as you could pitch anything to send for. And your targets most likely will be Nil, Zoa, Aaron, and Curse. But if you open up the Null, you send the Nihil or the Kaiju Abyss. And then finally, one that was a couple things that was suggested to me by a friend. And it is the Monarch Draco Abyss. So you don't run Kaiju Abyss because Kaiju Abyss isn't that good because you're more focused around things like the True Draco engine. Now, I could cut this down to 42, but that's going to be a little bit hard as there's so many key pieces in it that you kind of need. You can even run the deck where you can blind or smoke out your Abyss stuff and go full on True Draco if you want, with the Monarchs as well. 2 of the key features that are pretty good, Ignis Heat, are Monarch stats for your Tenacity and for your domain, because it's an easy tribute, because you could tribute off any of your continuous spells and traps, even if you have a set prime, that works as well, or an activated prime to get into the graveyard so you can do a little more combo. Edea and Edios are always a 2, except for something like this build. These being at 2 helps out so much getting out multiple monsters. Aether's a very good card because you just send 2 cards to summon out Karaz, or even summoning out your Erebus. Or you can even summon out Ignis Heat. So you have multiple ways to get to the Ignis Heat. It could even go down to 1 if you want, but that's really up to you. Overall, I've been having a lot of fun with Abyss. I am still waiting on for that last spell card to see if it will make the deck or break it. Also, Snake Rain is at 2 because you only have 7 targets, and most of the time it can become a brick, but you can also get rid of it off of things like Diagram, if you can. Some of the other notes that I do have to say, this deck is definitely one that you have to sit around and mess around with, because it's not going to be one of those things where you could instantly go right into it like Ursa Arctic. This is definitely one of the more complex decks of the three, and I would have to say the Pendulum deck is going to top that when we know what it is. Overall, I rate Abyss a good 7 out of 10 for now, and Earth's Arctic is a lovely 8 out of 10 for how they are. Having multiple builds, it reminds me of how Adamancipator was, as I had so many builds for it. But overall, I'm very, very happy with how all of these are. Now, you can take these as base builds if you want, but also keep in mind, tune them to how you like your deck building, as I have a strange deck building that works for my playstyle. But anyways, I've been Bolt Spider. See you guys in the next video, and goodbye.